Do you ever try to work up the energy to state a boundary with somebody, and then when the time comes to have that conversation, you just can't go through with it? Do you ever want to better your life by, say, moving to another place, or going back to school, or trying something creative, or opening up a new business or a small business? And there's this like deluge of negative self-talk that comes up that's abusive to you. Like, who do you think you are to do something like that? Do you ever need to negotiate a salary or time off, or not taking on any more work at work? And you cognitively know that other people can say no to those things, but when you try, there's this intense fear of being shamed or attacked that comes up. So you give up on stating those boundaries or asking for the raise. Another example, which is a common one, is an attempt to break up with someone that you know the relationship isn't good for you or it's not for you, and you just can't get yourself to do it when the time comes. And I think we've actually all been there. These are examples of your inner adult wanting better, and your inner child is pulling you in the opposite direction due to childhood trauma and childhood trauma beliefs, like, oh, I could never hurt somebody, that's why I can't break up with them. So if you don't like the inner child language, and I get that, call it the fight between your limbic system, aka your trauma brain, specifically your between your amygdala and your prefrontal cortex. If you don't like that language around the inner child, prefrontal cortex would be representing the inner adult. So the part of you that's an actual adult and wants more from life, wants to go one way, in the inner child or trauma conditioning is sabotaging that. And you're the same brain and you're the same person with these two parts. So it's actually more appropriate to call it self-sabotage when you really think about it. And I'm going to do some role plays to highlight this problem and so some solutions on it and how to get out of it. But first, here are some basic ideas that I'm going to be kind of to think of in this video. One is, in no way am I implying that the inner child is bad. The framework is that as a child, you were a genius to use the survival skills you had, such as people pleasing, to survive all that growing up. And we need to honor that. What's negative about that, though, is that the trauma conditioning is keeping us stuck in our present life, in our adult life. And the second thing is inner child parenting is a really tricky thing to learn. And it's a long process to get someone's inner adult more in shape and strong enough in order to take on the job of reparenting and do things like boundary setting or asking for a raise. So there's a big process behind all that. Number three is, most people start in doing inner child work as really an overwhelmed inner adult, and will need a lot of like concrete psychoeducational and literal teaching on how to reparent. Literally, what do I say, what do I do kind of stuff. Some are natural at it, but many have no frame of reference for healthy parenting due to how they grew up. Like, how could we have a good frame of reference given that we grew up in childhood trauma? And number four is, inner children present in many different ways. Some of us have very open inner children who have been waiting to be seen and readily accepts the care that you give them, and that's an easy presentation. Some of us have controlling, fear-based inner children who won't tolerate you breaking up with somebody. Some of us have like a despairing inner child or a shame-based inner child. And some of us have inner children who are disgusted with adults, and that's kind of rooted in a lot of like having power over the adult. Like, you know, I've been fine my whole life, I don't need you kind of stuff. And the fifth idea is, the difficulty isn't just with the inner child. It's also with the inner adult who might struggle with being too passive with the inner child. That inner adult literally might not want the job of reparenting inner child. That's a common one. Another is the inner adult who agrees way too much with the trauma beliefs, which is like a colluding or enabling, all kinds of stuff. So in this video, in this role play, I'm going to be covering two of the most common problems that I see between the inner adult and the inner child. First one I'll be covering is the passive inner adult who colludes with the inner child's belief system. And that's, again, it's like an enabling parent who caters to whatever the kid really kind of says. And the second one I'll be covering is the self-loathing inner adult who takes on a disrespectful inner child's disgust and disrespect of power, like authority gets wrecked in childhood trauma. This is where the inner child is hypercritical, if not abusive, to the adult who doesn't parent around that energy. Here's a visual on how these two dynamics result in self-sabotage, like asking for a raise or setting a boundary. So when we want to better our lives and the inner child runs us or takes over, the inner adult tends to either give in or give up. See all the way over to the right in the infographic. So up top is the colluding adult. Say they want to ask or attempt to ask for a raise, and the inner child does not feel comfortable taking such risks because taking risks growing up brought on more abuse, and the inner adult actually isn't strong enough and eventually gives in to the trauma beliefs. You know, the inner child might be like, our boss is going to fire us if we ask for a raise, and the whole department will ridicule us for being selfish for asking for a raise, and the adult will give in to that old belief system, and it's like, you're right, that could happen, so I better just give up on it. The adults, the passivity and the colluding with the inner child's fear, that results in giving in to what the child wants to do, which is not go for the raise. The other presentation, that is the self-loathing inner adult who gives up authority because the inner child kind of ridicules them, like, you're a loser, you can't even keep a plan alive, what makes you think we can handle talking to our boss about a raise? Get over yourself. The inner adult is too aligned with that belief, that's the self-loathing part, from the inner child, and simply gives up. You're right, I can't keep a plant alive. The adults believing the shame beliefs from childhood, along with the disgust and the disrespect from the inner child, causes the adult to give up on the healthy thing they want to accomplish, hence the self-sabotage. So here are two role plays for each of those problems. For each one, we'll role play the dysfunctional dynamic of reparenting, and then we'll do the same thing over again in what it would look like with a more healthy and effective inner adult. I'm bringing in some help with my mentor, Amanda Curtin, who taught me how to do these role plays. And without her expertise on these tricky problems, there wouldn't really be any videos like this from me. So we got together to do these role plays, which are tools from her relationship recovery program, her model of childhood trauma therapy that she does, to show what these reparenting problems look like. So the scenario with the first one is wanting to set a boundary with a partner who teases or creates discomfort. And the adult is trying to parent the inner child around that I'm going to set a boundary thing. Usually these conversations are done on paper using a tool called dialoguing that Amanda taught me how to do. So here goes the role play. Okay, so I'm adult Amanda, you're little Amanda. And then I'm going to try to parent you around setting a boundary or a preference. So little Amanda, I need to say something to our partner because...
Wait a minute. No. That is not a good idea.
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel pretty anxious inside.
Okay. Well, can I just maybe tell you why, or just to, it's...
I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. It doesn't feel good.
Okay. Well, do you have an idea when we could talk about it?
Just some other time.
Some other time. All right. Can I maybe even ask you how you felt about it last night?
No, I don't like it.
Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, I'll ask the therapist about what. Okay, sure. Okay, right out of the gates, the big no. So you can see the inner child being highly anxious and insistent on not going there with the partner, and the passive adult kind of gives in. It's very quick role play. I'm not saying that the adult is bad, but you could see that they're really struggling to be confident. The passive adult here could have also tried to soothe the inner child, but not really in a good way. Like, okay, I totally get that this is too much for you right now, and I think you're right. Maybe it's not that big of a deal, kind of a thing. If you almost think about like literally Cartman's mom in a lot of this stuff from South Park, if you're a fan, I know that that's like terrible analogy, but there's a lot of this parenting going on there. Here's what it would look like with a healthy adult in place.
So, little Patrick.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to let you know that I'm going to talk to my partner about some behaviors that have really bothered me recently.
No, I don't like this conversation. I'm not talking to you.
Yeah. And you know what? I totally get why you're doing that. Of course you don't want to talk to me.
No, I don't. And
I know.
You don't get why.
I know. What was it like for you when you were little to try to talk to your parent about something hard?
Well, no, I want to talk about not saying anything to our partner, because they're going to be really pissed at us. We don't say things right. We're gonna botch it up, and it's gonna create a big fight that we're gonna have to stay in for a long time. And that's just stupid. If we do that, it's stupid.
Yeah. And it's, I'm so glad you're telling me all this. It's really, really important. But I want you to know that what happens with me and my partner is my responsibility. And what I want to do is figure out what it was like for you when that happened to you as a kid.
But yeah, if that's you're not good at this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If it's your responsibility, you're not good at this.
Mm-hmm. Well,
You can't even fight a parking ticket. You're not gonna.
I totally get that. And I'm learning. I'm definitely learning, in a process of learning. But before we talk about that, because that's kind of adult stuff, you're just a little kid who's having some feelings about what it's like to try to say something to somebody that you care about, but who has all the power. What did you learn about that with mom and dad?
Well, you're just like mom and dad because you just said I was a little kid and I don't matter.
I said you were a little kid. I didn't say you didn't matter. You totally matter to me. You're my little boy. I love you. I totally love you. And what I am so upset about is that as a little kid, you didn't get the experience of both watching adults have an argument and work things out and get closer, nor could you say your truth to anybody, how you felt about their behavior, how they were treating you, any of that. You never could.
Mm.
And that breaks my heart.
Mm.
And that's so wrong. I know you didn't have the experience of it, so you don't really know what's possible. What you experienced is really bad parenting.
Okay. That's nice, but I still don't
I
feel
don't, I don't think it was nice, Patrick. I think it was really, really hurtful. And it took you to a place where you had to decide to put all that truth away and to not feel those feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is kind of leaving your body. You go into your head, you shut down all that. And you were so smart to do that. Really smart.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you have people who have power and they're either going to punish you or shame you or make you feel wrong when you speak your truth,
Mm.
you got to shut it down. Yeah.
Okay. So what do we do though?
Mm.
Because this is really, really scary.
All the feelings that came up when I was talking about talking to my partner?
Mm-hmm.
All those feelings are the feelings you shoved down because they weren't safe.
Oh, okay.
It's what I call the well of pain.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot in there.
Yeah.
And there's also a well of truth.
Mm.
And so, go ahead.
Well, do you mean the times that dad would hit me if I didn't get a good grade and I couldn't tell him about my report card? And
Yes. Yes. I mean, we probably could make a long list of all the times that happened to you, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So instead of being focused on the present right now, right? What we're going to do is we're going to bring dad in for a minute. Okay. And I'm going to say something to him
Okay.
on your behalf. Okay. I know that sounds really scary, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So you don't have to do a thing. Okay. And even if it's too scary for you to watch, what I want you to do is you can remove yourself, go into another room and watch it on TV.
Okay.
Okay. So just see how you feel. You also can say, Amanda, stop. I mean, sorry, Big Patrick, stop.
Uh-huh.
And I need help. I'm too scared.
Okay.
But I promise you, I will not let him hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
And if he talks, I will shut him up. So
Okay.
tell me if he starts talking. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So, Patrick's dad, you are here because I'm going to talk to you about the dad you were to little Patrick. And you are not allowed to say one word. You are not allowed to get up and move at all. And if you do, I will have police come in and restrain you. And if I have to put something over your mouth, I will do that. You are to listen to me right now because I am livid about how you treated this little boy. This was your son, your precious son. And you were a bully and abusive. Shame on you. Shame on you. You disgust me. And you made it so that Patrick thought he was the problem and that he had to hide things from you. He couldn't tell you the truth about something like his grades. A dad is supposed to be safe and supposed to celebrate the grades that are great and also help you with grades that aren't and help you not to feel stupid or bad. Sometimes it's hard to learn. Sometimes there may be something he needs help with. And you were so scary. And I really hate you for that. And now I'm going to ask you to leave.
But Big Patrick, I think he's going to get me after. Like, you can talk to him like that, but then I'm going to hear about it.
He could when you were a kid. Absolutely, he could get you. And that's why you didn't do it. That's why you were smart not to do it. Mm-hmm. But see, I'm in control now. You live with me. I have all the power. You don't live with him anymore. Mm. You're in my heart, and I carry you wherever I go.
That's nice.
It's really nice for me. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was terrifying.
I know. He really was.
I liked how you talked to him, but I think that's why I really get scared about upsetting people.
I know. I totally get that. My heart goes out to you. You would have to feel that way when I think about talking to my partner. But what I want you to know is that I'm going to do it. And I promise you it will be different. And I want to ask you a couple of questions. How's my partner different than our father?
Well, he doesn't hit.
Yeah, that's big. Yep. Anything else?
It's sometimes it's like I think he's going to care, but he doesn't care about things, like about dishes or whatever.
Right. Messes.
And sometimes I don't believe him.
Yeah.
I always think but I guess I always think he's going to lash out at any time, but he never does.
Yeah. But there's always that fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's because of dad. That's because that was your experience, right?
Right.
And so the reason that I really want you to see me get upset with him about some behaviors I don't really like is because I want you to see that I can do that safely now. That I can actually say to him, it kind of bothers me that you tease me in a certain way. It hurts my feelings. And I really would like you to try to stop that. And to see that there's a way that there are men in this world that actually can take that in and hear what I'm saying, own that they do that, and to say they're willing to work on it. Mm-hmm. And I don't think you'll believe me that that's true unless you see it. And I wouldn't, if I were you, believe me, without seeing it.
It's confusing because he's really chill and fun.
Yeah, he is.
He never gets mad the way, so.
Part of why I picked him. Mm-hmm. I wanted somebody different than dad. I was pretty careful about it. But at the same time, you can see that I'm still scared to say things to him.
Yeah.
And that's because of our childhood.
Yeah.
So for me to be able to say something is going to be a big deal and a little hard,
Hmm.
but I know I'm safe to do it. And I want you to see it. I want to do it for you too.
Okay.
Okay.
I really hate the teasing,
I do too.
but then
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just being a pain in the ass.
No, you're not. I love that you can be in touch with, I hate the teasing, because that's what you couldn't be in touch with as a little boy, to be able to say, it doesn't feel good to me. I
Yeah.
want that to stop. I
Hmm.
don't like that. And that wasn't possible. All that had to get suppressed. But now you can pay attention to that and say, I don't like that. And I can actually say something about it.
Yeah, it's just confusing though.
I
And then when I
know.
get confused, then I just put it away.
And that's why I don't want you to have to do this. And it's not your job to do it. You're not an adult. This is an adult relationship. So I'm ready. I've done a lot of work on myself. And even though I'm a little nervous, I'm going to do it.
Mhm.
And all you have to do is watch.
All right.
All right? Deal?
Good luck.
Okay.
So in many of my videos, I use the term holding abusive parents accountable, which is what Amanda did there by bringing the inner child's actual father and pretending they were present on the call or present in the therapy room. This is also known as empty chair work. What goes deep about bringing the father in and the inner child holding them accountable for the damage is the inner child finally sees someone going to bat for them. Even if it's pretend, the unconscious doesn't know that it's not real and it has an emotional impact or a shift. So a huge component to inner child work is establishing real security, or what we call integration, for the first time. That the inner adult can handle the boundary setting and is not afraid of the feelings so much that come up. There might be a little bit, but doesn't run them. This is what makes up a gradually maturity around our triggers, this security thing, which I'm going to do another video on the future. And clients, none of us would be struggling with this stuff if our own parents had the qualities of presence and helping us as we went through our development. We wouldn't be here if we had that. So we're trying to establish it now. So that's that scenario. With the distrusting and fearful inner child. And I'll release a full video of the interview that I did with Amanda as she and I discuss and go into deeper detail about these issues that come up with inner child reparenting. So moving on to the next role play with the self-loathing adult and the disgusted, authority figure inner child. Again, think about this as someone who is struggling with self-hate. It's like a snake eating its tail kind of cycle between the inner adult and the inner child. So the scenario here is about asking for a raise. And here is the dysfunctional, unhealthy parenting version of that. Little Amanda, we're all Amanda. Little Amanda, we're overworked and underpaid. And I scheduled a meeting a couple weeks ago, and I think I'm going to ask for a raise tomorrow. And I want to check in with you about.
You're not going to do it. You never do it. You always say you're going to do it and you never do it. You're such a loser.
Oh, well, I know I have a bad track record of doing it, but I thought that maybe.
Look at you. You can't even get it out. You can't even say it. You can't say it. How are you going to do it with your boss? You're terrified of him.
Well, I just thought I know you're right. Maybe I should.
You're such a loser.
What do you think? What do you think we should do? Because I scheduled a meeting.
I mean, I'm so sick of all these things that you get yourself into. It's kind of embarrassing. Just cancel the meeting. Cancel the meeting. What's wrong with you?
You don't think I'm ready?
Really? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Well, we're really overworked, and I thought that maybe I could just try to see if, I would just feel so much better if we were just actually.
You're going to go in there, you're going to say it, and he's just going to blast you, and you'll go out with your tail between your legs, and it'll be just another defeat. I don't want to go through it. I'm sorry. I'm just done with that.
All right. Well, I'll I'll rethink things. Okay. Thanks for dialoguing with me.
My pleasure.
So there is a thing I want you to pay attention to. There's a really tricky thing going on here, which is the self-loathing inner adult is actually a safer adult for the inner child to project upon. Like they might not talk to their own parents like that. And they are usually projecting the disgust they had for an actual parent, or it's usually coming from an abusive form of power that they picked up on from one of their parents growing up, like sort of like a bully, like who taught them to be a bully like that is kind of the question. And the inner adult here, which is interesting, takes on the abuse from the inner child, and that's usually due to them not wanting to be an abusive authority figure and do the things that was done to them. I know this stuff is confusing, but you can see that it's also dysfunctional. What I'm getting at is most of us, I think, spend most of our energy trying to not be like our parents, and that also shows up in our inner child work. And that can become dysfunctional too, like being too enabling because we don't want to be abusive or a bully. So now, here is the healthy version, and this one goes deeper, so stay with this.
Little Patrick, I just wanted to let you know, because I always like to talk to you about what's going on. I'm going to talk to my boss and get a raise.
Oh, fucking
I really deserve it.
You're not going to know. You're not going to do that. You're horrible at that.
Mm-hmm.
You bomb every conversation, whether it's the person at Starbucks.
No, I'm gonna stop, Patrick. I'm gonna stop you right now, because how you're talking to me is not okay. I'm fine with you saying how you feel, but I do not want you to talk to me the way you are.
I'll talk to you however I want to talk to you. You're not
Actually, no, that's not okay. And I know that you're having really strong feelings, and that you saw your dad, when he had strong feelings, be abusive in his language, but that's not okay with me. And
yeah,
it's not who you are.
Point across, though, right?
Not in a way that I would ever want to be around. There's a way to talk about feelings that's respectful of the person who's talking and respectful the person you're talking to. So no swearing, no calling me any names, but you can tell me what you're feeling.
Okay, fine. I will. I don't trust that you can do a lot of things. You can't.
How does that make you feel when you're not feeling trust for me? But how does that feel? What's a feeling word?
Insecure.
Mm-hmm. Anxious?
Yeah.
Oh, do you feel at all angry?
Yeah.
Yeah, you feel angry. Yeah, and insecure and a little bit anxious, right? Those are really important feelings. And I want to know how you feel, because you're really important to me. So it's really good that you're telling me this, because then I know what's really going on inside.
Yeah, but I don't buy any of this.
Mhm.
I don't,
You know what you just did?
Patrick?
No, I'm not going to have you finish, because you're going into your head right now, and you're trying to talk to me about something that it's really hard. It's really hard to stay with the feelings. And you just did something really big. And I want to stay with that for a minute. You just told me how you feel, and you did it in a really respectful way. I'm really proud of you.
Okay.
That was really brave and new. How was that for you?
Weird.
Yeah, right. Very new and different. Weird. New stuff always feels a little weird. Yeah. Anything else? Was there any place in you where it felt good?
A little, but there's a point I need to get across to you.
Okay. Can you do it in a respectful way?
Yes, I'm trying to do that.
Okay, great.
It's a problem I have with you.
Okay.
And that you're telling me all these nice things when I feel like you're pretending to be a good adult when you're really not one.
So to me, that is, you're kind of shaming me. saying I'm not a good adult. Um, there,
That's
there, there are things that you can say you don't like, specific things that you can tell me, and I hope you do tell me that you may not like. But I also want you to see what I do right, so we can balance it, because I think I do some things right, and I'm sure I'm do some things that you don't like.
well, yeah, you never fill up the gas tank. You always leave it hovering around empty.
Mm-hmm.
You
Now, is
just
that
get it together and plan. And
mhm, mhm. That's really important. I'm glad that you're telling me that bothers you, because that's important to me. And that's something that's a behavior I can change.
okay,
So thank you for telling me.
sure.
What else?
Well, are you going to go to the gas station today and fix that?
Absolutely. Yep. Well, let me think about it, because I want to be honest when I can. I probably can do it tomorrow, because I have a lot of meetings today, so I can do it tomorrow.
All right.
What's coming up for you?
I'm struggling with this. I guess I just don't like being parented.
Of course you don't. Of course you don't. It's not anything that was positive in your life. Parenting was really awful. And so what you learned to do was run your own show. And again, very smart, really saved your life. The problem is kids need parents, because they're born not knowing a lot of stuff.
Mm.
And so when you don't have that kind of help, it sets you up for a lot of trouble in life. And yes, you get independent, but we know we've had a lot of issues around our life and trying to manage it in ways that work. And that goes right back to not having good resources as parents. And so, again, don't believe me that there are good parents, that the parenting can be really helpful for you. But I'm going to show you, and you can see how that goes.
Okay. I guess I'm just so used to doing things on my own that
I
this
know,
is.
I know, I know. It's, it also keeps us really from getting other resources in our life. You know, how we haven't really asked for help very much from other people.
Yeah.
And there are actually really good people in our life now that could actually help us and be there for us. Still really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you've years and years and years of having either no parenting or bad parenting, it leaves you with a sense that there is no help and you have to be on your own. And we're social beings and we need help. As kids so need help to be able to be okay.
Okay.
And you know how much help we give our own children now, because we know how important it is. So now you get to have that.
Sure. This is nice, but how do I trust you?
You don't.
Oh,
You don't. Not until I earn it. Not until I earn it. Trust is always earned. And so what you have to do is really look at specific ways I'm either untrustworthy to you or trustworthy to you. And we'll see where I come out. I think I'm pretty good trustworthy, but I have, some things that I have to work on, like filling up the gas tank. But filling up the gas tank is not as big an issue as some of the issues you had to deal with your father and with your mother.
mm.
Can you see the difference?
Well,
Being hit, like let's say being hit, when he hit you, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or when he verbally abused you, or when your mom ignored it all. That's a little bit different than forgetting to fill up the gas tank. I'm not saying it's not an issue that I'm going to address, but it's different.
Well, yeah, that's hugely different, but
Yeah.
I think that I could never trust him because sometimes he'd crack a joke the next day.
Yeah. See, that's you're so smart as a kid. You really are. I love that about you. You always come up with exactly what we should talk about. Because what happens with dysfunctional families is it's bad most of the time, but once in a while it's okay, which makes you never trust the okay.
Mm-hmm.
In a functional family, it's pretty good most of the time, and every once in a while there's a problem. So you kind of, yeah, I know, isn't that astounding? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so it's a whole different experience of things that are difficult. When mostly things are okay and something comes along that isn't okay, it's not as big a deal because you got a lot of okay. And you can trust the okay because there's enough of it so you can trust it. If it's only a little bit of okay and there's a lot not, you're not going to trust it.
No.
Nope. And you were smart not to.
Yeah, and I think that that's why I hated him so much, because like one day he'd be hitting me, and then the next day he'd be like, well, you got basketball practice tomorrow. And it'd be like this, like, you're going to be this parent now, so it was just,
yeah.
So I can see that you're very different than him, but.
I'm so glad you can see that, Patrick. I'm so glad.
Yeah. Well, okay. Cool. Yeah, that was great. So you can see there's a bunch of qualities that a confident, loving inner adult has. There was validation, really connecting to a heart space with the child while firmly leading and not allowing the inner child to project what happened in childhood onto the present. Another thing that Amanda is masterful at is letting the disgusted inner child voice criticism, but having that be respectful. There's like a correction around the relationship there. And at the heart of this is the individual starts to gain some self-respect and more security by focusing on the childhood perpetrators while being real with the inner child who will try to steamroll any adult who comes along and tries to parent them. I've done fine my whole life. I don't need you. You're a loser kind of stuff, which you saw in the role play. So some final thoughts. Getting a strong, healthy adult in place is a process, and a lot of people need a lot of help with that. But once it's underway, clients kind of get a foothold on not doing certain behaviors like people-pleasing or shutting down, which those things can lead to self-sabotage. They start to have more and more insight on what their inner child needs and how their inner child can become reactive, or the stuff that you saw in the role play. And what is tricky, and it's also why I wanted to do this video, is learning how to parent is hard. We literally need literal things to say and what kind of position or vibe we should assume. And it's actually a lot like being an actual parent. Another side note is all of the work is done by the inner adult. And the inner child just benefits from the parenting and the behavioral changes. Expecting the inner child to change without any real parenting of them is just like an abusive childhood. Like, yeah, you go fix it. You fix that. So sometimes that comes up in this stuff too. So when the inner adult you wants to better your life in some way, and you head to the left and your inner child is pulling a hard right, that's the opportunity or a little bit of a crisis to actually do the reparenting work. It's like an ongoing thing, but especially in those times. And if you'd like to start using those tools, you can join my monthly healing community. This dot up here takes you right to it, and you'll get weekly journal prompts, a bi-monthly, twice a month, Q&A with me, and all the coursework that I offer, including a webinar and a workbook that I did on inner child reparenting, using that dialoguing tool that I mentioned. And also there are other problems in inner child reparenting, like I mentioned, like a shame-based child or a despairing child, a child that shuts down and goes underground. It's very hard to get our adult in place when we're dealing with that. Usually when we start this work, we're really all inner child, if that makes sense. So to recap, hit some buttons on the screen if you like this video and subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned for a full interview that I did with Amanda. There's a whole hour-long video of what we did around that role play, where we discussed the role plays and the issues more in depth. You can check out the monthly healing community right up here and let me know if you'd like to see more role plays on these reparenting issues and other problems that I mentioned. So, as always, may you be filled with loving kindness, may you be well, may you be peaceful and at ease, and may you be joyous. And I will see you next time.